On Saturday, April 28, 2007, 3-year-old Madeleine and her 2-year-old twin siblings and parents Kate and Jerry McCann arrive on holiday in Praia da Luz, Portugal. The McCanns are part of a group of British friends vacationing together. Between Sunday, April 29th and Wednesday, May 2nd, 2007, the family follows a routine. Children attend the Ocean Club Kids Creche during the day. Evenings are spent dining with friends at the Tapas restaurant about 50 to 60 meters from the apartment. Children are left asleep in the apartment while adults check on them periodically. On May 2nd, Madeleine reportedly asks her mother, "Why didn't you come when Sean and Amelie cried last night?" This comment later becomes a significant point of concern. On the night of the disappearance, on Thursday, the 3rd of May, 2007, around 7:30 p.m., the McCanns put Madeleine and the twins to bed in the same room in apartment 5A. The apartment window and shutters are closed, the patio door is locked. Kate and Jerry leave to dine with 7 other people at the Tapas restaurant at 8:30 p.m. The Tapas restaurant was about 55 meters, 180 feet, away from apartment 5A. A system of periodic checks was agreed upon. Towards 5 minutes past 9 and a quarter past 9 p.m., the father of Madeleine McCann, Jerry McCann, went to see Madeleine and the twins in their bedroom at apartment 5A. He saw the door was half open, which he thought was strange. He had thought he closed the door properly. He saw the 3 children together and the shutters were closed. At 9:20 p.m., a friend of the McCanns, Jane Tanner, walked past close to the apartment at the side of the building and saw a person with a child in his arms going down the main road. She did not recognize the person or the child and claimed the person to be a man who must have been between 30 and 40 years old and that he was wearing light-colored trousers and had dark hair. At 9:30 p.m., another friend, Dr. Matthew Oldfield, went to the rear of the apartment towards the lounge window. He did not go in and only saw the twins asleep. He didn't notice anything unusual. At 10 p.m., the mother of Madeleine McCann, Kate McCann, found out Madeleine had disappeared from apartment 5A and noticed the window and shutters were wide open. Kate McCann shouted, "They've taken her," when she discovered Madeleine was missing. Resort staff and guests searched the area. Police were called at around 10:40 p.m. The initial search was limited. Border alerts were not immediately issued. Whilst international news outlets report that Madeleine McCann had disappeared, the search continued through Friday, May 4, 2007, with the Polizia Judiciaria taking over the investigation. Roadblocks were set up in and out of Praia da Luz. Abandoned buildings, wells, and open countryside were checked. Throughout Saturday, May 5th and Sunday, May 6th, 2007, a wider Algarve search occurred, sniffer dogs were brought in, and coastal and rural searches extended beyond Praia da Luz. First appeals were made to tourists and airport staff. Thousands of tips began arriving from multiple countries. The following week, between the 7th and 10th of May 2007, the search intensity remained high, but with less focus on ground searches and more emphasis on witness statements, CCTV checks, and travel routes. International police cooperation began with UK and European agencies becoming involved. On the 8th of May 2007, a witness, Barrington Godfrey Norton, a music teacher, gave a statement due to his very frequent presence in the immediate vicinity of the place Madeleine disappeared from, which had been referred to since the date of her disappearance. He said he had been living in a white Ford Escort van since the beginning of April 2007. He said he took interest in the disappearance after Madeleine was reported missing and had gone to where the British journalist went to in order to find out news about Madeleine's whereabouts. On May 14, 2007, a British man, Robert Murat, was named an arguido, which means a formal suspect under Portuguese law, granting specific rights, such as access to a lawyer, but not implying guilt. Murat was questioned extensively after this designation and was subject to restrictions, including travel conditions. His home and surrounding land were searched. No charges were brought against him. From mid to late May 2007, The McCanns remained in Portugal, cooperating with investigators. Public fundraising and awareness campaigns began internationally, and extensive forensic tests were carried out at the apartment. Police continued interviews with resort staff and tourists. On the 7th of September 2007, Kate and Jerry McCann were named arguidos, formal suspects. Both were questioned for hours separately by the Portuguese police.
Both parents of Madeleine McCann are now considered formal suspects by the Portuguese police authorities. Jerry McCann, when he left his late-night questioning, declared in the early hours of the morning that he too had been categorized as an arguido, a formal suspect, by police. That means the next 48 hours become crucial, because under Portuguese law, they have to go now before a judge where he can stipulate the rules governing their arguido status, whether they can leave the country, whether they can stay in the country, hand in their passports, or actually go under house arrest. This is a dramatic turnaround from the last 4 months where they were considered as the victims of an appalling crime. Now the McCanns are clearly being considered by police detectives here as potential suspects in the disappearance, perhaps even death, of their own daughter. Ian Woods has the details.
Just after midnight, Jerry McCann and his Portuguese lawyer emerged from the police station where he had been questioned for 8 hours. He looked stunned by the events of the past few days, and it became clear why when his lawyer revealed what had happened inside.
Kate and Jerry McCann have both been today declared arguidos with no bail conditions, and no charges have been brought against them. The investigation continues.
Suspected of killing his daughter and disposing of her body, but neither he nor his wife have been charged with any crime. And though they must both fear what lies ahead, for now they remain free. It was an extraordinary evening in which hundreds of Portuguese citizens, as fascinated by this case as people in Britain and around the world, stood for hours waiting for news. Earlier in the day, they'd watched as Kate McCann left after her second day of intense questioning. At the beginning of the 5-hour interview, she was told she was being designated a suspect, and according to her family, she was made an extraordinary offer. Confessed to accidentally killing Madeleine, and she'd serve no more than 2 years in jail.
They've now hung Kate out to dry by offering her this offer as if she's going to take it. The deal being that she would only have to go to jail a couple of years, if even that. But why would an innocent person take a deal like that? Kate has no intention of ever accepting a nonsensical deal. People who haven't done anything wrong won't do that, and Kate never will.
It's an almost unbelievable twist to this endlessly intriguing story, a development which has left the McCann family and friends incredulous. Nikki Gill is Kate's best friend, who supported her in the aftermath of Madeleine's disappearance.
To even think that Kate and Jerry would harm a single bone in her body, hair on her head, is absolutely outrageous, and anybody that knows Kate and Jerry just knows that they would not do anything at all to harm any of the children.
In theory, arguido status means that after hundreds of interviews and appeals, neither Kate nor Jerry McCann are allowed to talk to the media anymore, but they will still maintain their innocence through family and friends. The onus now is on the Portuguese authorities to bring charges if they believe they have firm evidence that Madeleine was killed and hidden by her own parents.
The Portuguese investigators theorized she died by accident in the apartment and fell from a certain height, bumping her head, and the McCanns allegedly hid the body to avoid blame for leaving children unattended. The senior detective who led the case, Goncalo Amaral, proposed the body was temporarily hidden and later moved, and that a fall caused fatal injuries, possibly worsened by sedatives. The McCanns answered media questions early on after being interviewed as arguidos. One of the questions was if they had given Calpol, which contained paracetamol, which is used to reduce fevers in infants, to Madeleine.
In that evening, did you give to your kids something like Calpol to help them sleep?
You know, we're not going to comment on anything, but, you know, there is absolutely no way we used any sedative drugs or anything like that. And, you know, we have cooperated fully with the police. We'll answer any queries, any tests that they want to do at any point.
The staged abduction theory was argued by Goncalo Amaral as plausible because cadaver dogs alerted in the apartment, with blood dogs alerting behind a sofa and in a rental car used weeks later. Amaral argued these alerts indicated a death had occurred in the apartment. Many believe the alerts from Eddie, the enhanced victim recovery dog, who was trained to detect blood and cadaver scent, and Keela, the blood dog, is a sign of the parents' guilt. But none of the alerts are good enough to bring a case against the McCanns. The alerts were in apartment 5A, the McCanns' hire car, rented weeks after Madeleine vanished, and clothing items. The enhanced victim recovery dog can detect cadaver scent from a decade prior. The blood dog detected DNA, but it was of unknown origin and not a match to Madeleine. The dogs had given false alerts on several occasions, and Eddie had only been used on 17 occasions prior, not in over 200 cases. Eddie, the cadaver dog, alerted to a key card that had Jerry's DNA on it, and the card was found inside the McCann's rental car. Both the dogs alerted to the key card. Eddie detected a cadaver scent on the driver's door and in the luggage compartment. Keela alerted to blood in the same areas, luggage compartment and door. Eddie alerted to a cadaver scent behind the sofa, near a bedroom wardrobe, and on Madeleine's toy, Cuddle Cat. Kate McCann washed the Cuddle Cat, Madeleine's favorite toy, on the 12th of July, and police found numerous possessions and the Cuddle Cat on August 3rd, 2007. Keela alerted to blood behind the sofa and on Kate McCann's clothes. Both dogs also signaled near the living room curtains and on floor tiles. DNA was found on a swab from the luggage compartment of the Renault Scenic hire car, which the McCanns rented 24 days after Madeleine disappeared. The sample was collected after the dogs alerted police to the vehicle in the Holiday apartment. An FSS scientist found that the sample contained 15 of the 19 genetic markers used for analysis that were also present in Madeleine's reference DNA. The DNA was considered inconclusive because the sample contained DNA from at least 3 different people, making it highly complex to interpret. The quantity of DNA was very small, trace amount, a condition known as low copy number DNA, which is prone to complications in analysis and interpretation. Dr. Lowe cautioned that the match could be a chance occurrence or the result of secondary transfer, e.g., from Madeleine's clothes or toys that had been in contact with her parents or siblings. The components of her DNA profile were not unique, and some were even present in the FSS scientists themselves. In Madeleine McCann's apartment, forensic analysis found DNA from multiple individuals, described as mixed and inconclusive, including some components matching Madeleine's DNA, but also from at least 3 other people on items like a skirting board, with a significant finding being a blood trace that likely belonged to a Spanish man who may have stayed in the apartment after the initial police investigation, not directly linked to the disappearance itself, but rather to subsequent activity. Many strands of hair were recovered from apartment 5A, and many of the identified hairs belonged to Kate and Jerry McCann. 53 hairs were attributed to Kate and 25 to Jerry, spread across various sample sites. A significant number of the strands collected were not able to be DNA matched, using the technology available at the time. Of 444 strands analyzed, 432 were human, but 98 could not be DNA matched at all, and only partial results were obtained from 19 others. Notably, investigators expected to find a significant number of Madeleine's hairs in her bed and around the apartment, but a lack of her biological evidence was observed. Hairs without the skin follicle, which are mitochondrial DNA, matched to Kate McCann, which could have been Madeleine's, as the hairs matched Kate through maternal lineage. Despite extensive testing, no body, no confirmed bloodstains, no signs of a violent struggle, and no cause of death were identified. In October 2007, the McCanns released the sketch of the man Jane Tanner saw, with their face being blank because Jane Tanner could not be certain of details to ensure accuracy. The child the man is holding is wearing pink and white pajamas, similar to those worn by Madeleine on the evening of May 3rd. In January 2008, another sketch was released from a second witness account, which was drawn by an FBI sketch artist. The long-haired man was seen by Gail Cooper 600 yards from that of the McCanns in the same resort in Portugal. He was described as disturbing and acting suspiciously. Jane Tanner, a friend of the McCanns, said the sketch bore a strong resemblance to the man she saw carrying a child in pink pajamas and bare feet from the complex on May 3rd. Gail Cooper originally gave her statement in May. Cooper described seeing an olive-skinned man in his 30s or early 40s with a drooping mustache and scraggy collar-length hair on a number of occasions at the resort, according to Mitchell. He is described as being of slim build, 5 feet 7 inches to 5 feet 10 inches tall, and was wearing light-colored clothes. Cooper said she saw the man walking alone in a downpour on the deserted beach at Praia da Luz on April 20th. Later, the same afternoon, she said the same unpleasant man knocked on her apartment door. She said he was nervous and agitated and claimed to be collecting for a local orphanage. He spoke fairly good English, but with a heavy accent. She thought he might have been from Africa, perhaps Tunisia, but possibly from Spain. She did not think he was Portuguese. 2 days later, Cooper, who was on holiday with her husband John, saw the same man hanging around a children's outing to the beach organized by the Mark Warner Resort. Madeleine took part in the same outings in the days leading up to her disappearance. In July 2008, the Portuguese Attorney General archived the case due to lack of evidence. The McCanns' arguido status is lifted, and they're no longer considered formal suspects. Robert Murat, the third formal suspect in the case, also had his arguido status lifted. Also in July 2008, Robert Murat also accepted a £600,000 settlement from 11 British newspapers in a libel claim. On Wednesday, the 23rd of July 2008, the former head of the investigation, former senior detective Goncalo Amaral, released a book called The Truth of the Lie, translated into English, which claimed Madeleine McCann died in the apartment. Goncalo Amaral was removed from the case at the beginning of October 2007 after saying the British police were at the beck and call of Jerry and Kate McCann. The McCann's family spokesman, Clarence Mitchell, has said that lawyers are studying Amaral's book as a matter of urgency. In August 2008, a sketch of a couple drawn exclusively for the Mirror newspaper was released on the evidence of shop assistant 41-year-old witness Anna Stam, who saw the couple in Amsterdam along with a girl who resembled Madeleine. The assistant said the girl called herself Maddie and that they took her from her holiday. In October 2008, Express newspapers apologized in the High Court to the Tapas 7 and paid them £375,000 in libel damages for printing false allegations about them after the disappearance of Madeleine McCann. The group had been dining with Madeleine's parents, Kate and Jerry, the night the girl disappeared from her holiday apartment in the Praia da Luz resort in Portugal on May 3, 2007. In May 2009, another sketch was released of a man described as being ugly with a pitted face. One British tourist said she saw him twice. She first noticed him 4 days before the 3-year-old was snatched and then saw him again on May 2nd, the day before the disappearance. She said, "I saw a man acting suspiciously on 2 occasions. The first time I saw him, I was walking along the road with my daughter. I grabbed my daughter's hand and pulled her towards me because for some reason the man unnerved me. The next time I saw him, he was standing on the opposite side to the apartment. He was watching it. I would describe him as very ugly, with pitted skin with a large nose." The second witness is a 12-year-old girl who said she saw a man outside the balcony of the McCann's flat at about 8:15 a.m. on April 30. She said, "I was walking to the school bus stop. I go this way to school every day. I saw a man on the small path behind the block. He seemed to be looking at the balcony of the ground floor apartment. My grandparents used to live in that apartment, so I always look at it as I pass by." The girl saw the man staring at the flat again at lunchtime on May 2nd. The third witness is a Cheshire man who was walking with his partner at about 11:30 a.m. on May 2nd or 3rd. He said, I saw a man standing next to a wall. On the opposite side of the road was a white van. I paid particular attention to him because he appeared to be focused on watching the apartment block. As I walked past him, I looked at him, and for a split second we had eye contact. But then he just carried on staring at the apartment. In May 2009, a British paedophile was identified as a person of interest to private investigators searching for the missing girl. Spokesman for the McCanns, Clarence Mitchell, said he understood 64-year-old Raymond Hewlett was staying in Faro, an hour's drive from Praia da Luz in Portugal, when the 3-year-old went missing in May 2007. Hewlett had been convicted several times for sexual offenses against girls and was jailed for 6 years in 1988 after abducting a 14-year-old newspaper delivery girl, driving her 100 miles and forcing her to strip naked at knife point. He was also looked at in connection to other sex offenses and the murder in 2001 of 11-year-old Leslie Molseed. At the time of the suspicion of his involvement, Raymond Hewlett was receiving cancer treatment in Germany. In May 2009, the McCanns were taking action against Gonçalo Amaral because they could no longer stand by while he claimed their daughter was dead and that they were involved in hiding her remains. The McCanns from Rothley, Leicestershire, said in a statement, "We, together with our 3 children, Madeleine, Sean, and Amelie, are taking this legal action against Gonçalo Amaral over his entirely unfounded and grossly defamatory claims made in all types of media, both within Portugal and beyond, that Madeleine is not only dead, but that we, her parents, were somehow involved in concealing her body." In August 2009, an e-fit was released of a woman who was described as being between the ages of 30 and 35, 5 feet 2 inches in height, and behaving suspiciously in the area of the Port Olympic Marina in Barcelona in the early hours of May 7, 2007. She also had an Australian accent and was seen to be expensively dressed, according to a witness who spoke to her briefly. The woman might have mistaken him for a drug dealer and talked to him in the Port Olympic Marina. In November 2009, the Child Exploitation and Online Protection CEOP Center launched a 1-minute video appeal for Madeleine McCann, specifically targeting a potential witness or an associate of the person responsible for her disappearance.
This is what British police think Madeleine McCann looks like now. This video has been launched by the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Service, or CEOP, and it's aimed at anyone who might know what happened to her.
Madeleine disappeared on the 3rd of May 2007 while on holiday with her family in Portugal. Madeleine is now 6 years old. This is how she might look today. We know that there's someone out there who knows who's involved in her disappearance. They may be keeping this secret out of fear, misplaced loyalty, or even love. Keeping this information secret only increases the anguish of Madeleine's family and friends, and increases the risk to other children. If you know who is involved, and you're keeping this secret, remember that it's never too late to do the right thing.
That's the voice of Jim Gamble, the head of CEOP. He said the clip's been made with the help of psychologists, and it's aimed at persuading anyone withholding info about who could have taken Madeleine or where she is to come forward. It could be a friend or relative of someone who's taken her, someone who's regularly checking the net for updates on how much the police know. The organisation's hoping that the video will go viral, with internet users spreading it by email, blog, Facebook and Twitter, so the message gets to as many people as possible.
Well, this is the first time an initiative of this type has been tried anywhere. And really it's different because it's not aimed at the predator, it's not aimed at the general public, it's aimed at one individual who's an associate of the person that took Madeleine or the people involved in that crime.
The little girl was nearly 4 when she went missing from her family's holiday apartment in Praia da Luz in Portugal on May the 3rd, 2007, while her parents dined with friends nearby. But despite a massive police investigation and huge publicity around the world, she has not been found. The McCanns say they're really grateful to CEOP for making the video, and they are also appealing on their website for people to come forward and do the right thing. Police and the McCann family hope this video might make someone do just that.
In December 2009, Kate and Jerry McCann made an emotional return to the resort where their daughter vanished. In January 2010, the McCanns went to court as plaintiffs seeking 1.2 million euros in libel damages against former senior detective Goncalo Amaral over a book that implied they were involved in their daughter's death. In January 2010, outside a hearing in Lisbon for the libel trial, former senior detective on Madeleine's case, Goncalo Amaral, said he will keep fighting to release his book and had vowed to keep appealing if he loses the libel trial. On the second day of the hearing of the libel trial, Jerry McCann lashed out at the Portuguese police, claiming there is no evidence Madeleine is dead. The libel battle with Goncalo Amaral lasted 13 years, and in 2015, a Lisbon court ordered him to pay £440,000 to the McCanns after they won the initial libel case over his book, but an appeal court overturned the decision the following year. In 2017, the McCanns tried to appeal the decision, but lost after they took the case to Portugal's Supreme Court. In 2022, they tried again through the European Court of Human Rights, but it ended in defeat when 7 judges upheld the former senior detective Goncalo Amaral's right to free speech. On April 28, 2011, Kate McCann's book, Madeleine, Our Daughter's Disappearance and the Continuing Search for Her, coincided with the 4th anniversary of her daughter's disappearance. The book details the McCanns' experiences and the ongoing search for Madeleine, with proceeds going to the fund to continue the search. On April 13, 2012, convicted pedophile Raymond Hewlett spoke for the first time and said he was innocent and had nothing to hide. On April 25, 2012, the Metropolitan Police publicly released a new age-progressed image showing how Madeleine may have looked at age 9, ahead of her 9th birthday. Interpol released the age-progressed photo in an updated global alert in May 2012. In October 2013, 2 new EFIT images were released, which were believed to be of the same man who was seen carrying a child on the night Madeleine disappeared. The EFITs were created from a sighting by a man named Martin Smith, who was an Irish tourist in Praia da Luz. The location of the sighting was near the beach in Praia da Luz. Smith reported seeing a man carrying a small child who appeared to be asleep at 10 p.m. on the night Madeleine vanished. His wife was also with him. Martin Smith made the statement to the police on May 27, 2007. The child was described as being barefoot and wearing light-colored pajamas and resembled Madeleine, but the child could not be positively identified. Smith assumed the man was the father taking a sick child home. On Monday, the 14th of October 2013, a Madeleine McCann Crime Watch special premiered, which went through the reconstruction of the timeline of the disappearance. Detective Chief Inspector Andy Redwood said in the show that there was an increased number of burglaries in the vicinity from January and until Madeleine went missing in 2007. In the 3 weeks prior to Madeleine's disappearance, it was claimed in the show that 2 incidents occurred in the same block Madeleine was on, where windows were used to gain access. Detective Chief Inspector Andy Redwood said it might be possible Madeleine disturbed someone who was trying to gain entry. In January 2014, it was revealed by news outlets that officers were preparing to fly to the Algarve to speak to 3 burglars who carried out raids in the Portuguese resort, where Madeleine, then 3 years old, vanished on the 3rd of May 2007. In the same month, it was reported that analysis of mobile phone data suggested that a burglary gang was operating very near to where Madeleine vanished and made an unusually high number of calls to each other in the hours after she was reported missing. In March 2014, it was reported in the news media that investigators were looking for a dark-haired man who sexually abused 5 girls in the Algarve. Police investigating the Madeleine McCann case were looking for a lone intruder who sexually abused 5 girls aged between 7 and 10 in the Algarve between 2004 and 2006. The man did not abduct any of the victims, but committed low-level theft, taking cash and phones. The man was claimed to have an unhealthy obsession in white young girls. 250 calls and emails came in response to the latest appeal about the man who UK police claimed assaulted 5 British girls aged 7 to 10 in Portugal's Algarve before Madeleine McCann disappeared.
Madeleine McCann was 3 when she disappeared nearly 7 years ago. It's thought she was snatched from the apartment where her family was staying, here in the coastal town of Praia da Luz. Now, a new line of inquiry. Could she have been taken by a serial sex attacker operating in the Algarve? The incidents happened in resorts, less than 30 miles apart, including Praia da Luz. Police say there were 12 break-ins at properties where British families were on holiday, and 5 young girls, aged between 7 and 10, were sexually assaulted. The attacks took place between 2004 and 2006. A year later, Maddie disappeared.
We know that this man has got this very, very unhealthy interest, and these children are on holiday, they're in their beds, they're in their holiday accommodation. Whilst I completely accept that it is not a clear correlation between the two, I'm sure the public will understand that there is significant features there.
Witnesses say the man who spoke English with a foreign accent was wearing a top like this one. Maddie's parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, welcomed the latest developments.
Every time a new appeal like today is made, with new information apparently coming forward so long after Madeleine went missing, Kate and Jerry feel that that in itself is progress.
All of the attacks happened in the early hours of the morning, and the British parents of the victims were in at the time. British police only found out about the attacks when some of the victims' parents contacted them after a Crime Watch appeal in October. But 9 of the 12 break-ins here on the Algarve were reported to Portuguese police years ago, at the time they happened. Today, Portuguese police said they recently reopened their investigation because of this theory that a sexual predator was operating in the area. But once again, some will ask why a line of inquiry was overlooked in the period after the British toddler went missing.
In December 2014, the first suspect, Robert Murat, was re-interviewed as a witness again by British and Portuguese police. He was among 10 men and women who were being interviewed in the same week under Operation Grange. On Wednesday, October 28, 2015, it was revealed the number of UK police officers investigating the 2007 disappearance of Madeleine McCann has been reduced from 29 to just 4. In May 2017, a former suspect named Paulo Ribeiro, who was questioned by Scotland Yard in connection with a theory that the 3-year-old was taken during a burglary that went wrong, spoke for the first time. In May 2018, it was revealed by his family that a man named Julian Totman was the Tannerman sighting sketch that Jane Tanner helped create. GP Julian Totman was carrying his daughter back from a creche when he was seen by Jane Tanner. He was interviewed by police in Portugal and never heard from them again. In June 2020, German man 43-year-old Christian Bruckner became a new potential suspect. In June 2020, 43-year-old German man Christian Bruckner became a new potential suspect. His name had previously come up in the investigation in 2013. In 2017, he was convicted of sexual abuse of a child in Germany and sentenced to 15 months in prison. In December 2019, he was convicted and sentenced to 7 years for the rape of an American woman that occurred in 2005 in Praia da Luz. In 1994, he was convicted of sexual abuse of a child and carrying out sexual acts in front of a child. In 1995, he fled Portugal as an 18-year-old to escape a 2-year youth custody sentence for the 1994 offenses. Christian Bruckner was also being investigated in the disappearance of 5-year-old Inga Gericke, who went missing from a family barbecue in a German forest in May 2015. Bruckner's former best friend, 46-year-old Michael Tatchell, spoke to the British press in June 2020 about the revelations in regard to Christian and said that he lived with Bruckner in Praia da Luz and that he knows that Christian did it and that he was a pervert and more than capable of snatching a child to sexually assault them or for money. He also said that Christian was a user of the dark web, which he used to traffic pornography and drugs. Christian was always on the dark web. I don't know exactly what he did, but I suspect he was involved with drugs and pornography. He stole money, valuables, and passports. He had a hiding place in his house in the ceiling. He kept the money and passports hidden there. He was always bragging about money and making money. He even talked about selling children, maybe to Morocco. I think he probably sold Maddie to someone, maybe to a sex ring. I was living with him at the time. He was my best friend. I know he did it. He was definitely a pervert. All his friends thought that about him. He had some sexual problems, Tatchell said. Tatchell also maintained his suspicions regarding the imposing motorhome Bruckner was using. Where had he gotten the money for such an investment? We all wondered where he got the money. It was an expensive thing. We assumed it was from a big drug deal or something. Now I suspect it was Maddie. He was only there for a couple of days and returned to Germany. Police found a large number of girls' swimsuits inside the vehicle, the Tiffin Allegro, the motorhome where Christian Bruckner was staying. The vehicle was about 30 years old and 10 meters long. The British newspaper The Mirror also tracked down a former British ex-girlfriend who was in a relationship with him in 2004. She said that despite initially feeling no attraction to him, he eventually won her over. She said, "I was 28. He was a couple of years younger than me. Everyone called him Chris. I liked him. I knew I liked him, but I wasn't interested." We gradually became friends in the spring of 2004. Chris could be very, very charming, very funny, and very smooth in his manner of speaking. He always dressed very well and kept the door open for women, that sort of thing. I was alone here in Portugal without family, and I was receiving all this attention from this guy. We got together romantically, and at first it was great. The relationship was very pleasant. She said they spent a lot of time in a secluded house that Christian had rented, that he drove a nice car, a black Jaguar, and that he was very polite and spoke properly. She said their sex life was normal. She later described him as being violent towards her and erratic, and said he would get angry when he had been drinking. In late June 2020, 60 Minutes Australia revealed information about the home he lived at in Portugal and a lair he had in Germany where he hid details of his previous crimes. In May 2023, a 3-day search occurred at the Arad Dam Reservoir, where a car park was near that was often used as an unofficial campsite. Bruckner was thought to have stayed there often in his Volkswagen T3 camper van. German authorities did not reveal what triggered the latest search operation, but state prosecutor Hans Christian Wolters said they were acting on the basis of certain tips. In February 2024, Christian Bruckner went on trial in Germany, facing 3 rape allegations and 2 charges of sexual abuse of children in Portugal between 2000 and 2017. At some point between 2000 and 2006, the rape of an unidentified woman aged between 70 and 80 in a holiday home in Portugal. The charges he faced in full were at some time between 2000 and 2006. The rape of a German-speaking girl believed to have been at least 14 years old in his home in Praia da Luz. In 2004, the rape of a 20-year-old Irish woman after entering her apartment in Praia da Rocha. In 2007, the sexual abuse of a 10-year-old German girl on a beach in Salema Faro. In 2017, the sexual abuse of an 11-year-old Portuguese girl in a playground in Bartolomeu de Messines. In February 2024, expat Ken Ralphs talked to Sky News and claimed Christian B. had tried to recruit a mutual friend to help find a youngster to sell to a childless couple. Ken Ralphs said he and his friend knew Christian B. from the nomadic community. He said he contacted police in Cumbria with his information in 2007 and contacted police in 2020. In April 2024, a former associate named Helge Busching spoke to the Mirror newspaper after he gave evidence in Christian Bruckner's new trial on unrelated sex crimes. He told the Mirror that he told former Detective Dave Edgar, who worked on the Madeleine McCann case, about Christian Bruckner in 2008, and Dave Edgar ignored the information. Bushing said that Christian Bruckner all but confessed and told him that Madeleine did not scream when they discussed the Maddie case together at a music festival called the Dragon Festival in Spain in 2008. Bushing tipped off Scotland Yard in 2017, which sparked off the ongoing international police probe into Bruckner. The evidence Bushing gave at Bruckner's trial was that he said he saw video footage from a video camera in Bruckner's house showing him raping and sexually assaulting 2 women. The German investigation into Bruckner revealed circumstantial evidence in relation to Madeleine McCann's disappearance. Christian Bruckner re-registered his Jaguar soon after Madeleine disappeared. Bruckner owned a 1993 Jaguar XJR6 around the time Madeleine McCann was reported missing from Praia da Luz in Portugal on the 3rd of May 2007. The day after her disappearance, Bruckner registered that Jaguar in someone else's name, effectively transferring ownership very quickly after the event. Investigators have highlighted this as a suspicious act in the timeline of the case. In October 2024, Christian Bruckner, who at the time was still currently serving a 7-year sentence for the rape of an American woman in 2005, was acquitted of carrying out 5 offenses in Portugal between 2000 and 2017. His scheduled release was in September 2025. In May 2025, The Sun revealed images from a documentary they made of items from Christian Bruckner's lair that led German police to believe Madeleine had died. Christian Bruckner bought a disused factory in the village of Neuwegersleben in Saxony-Anhalt, Germany, which was described as his lair, for 36,000 euros through an auction in Leipzig in 2008. In this factory in 2016, the German police found children's clothes, masks, chemicals, guns, and a hard drive full of pictures. In the same May article, it shows images of the evidence against Bruckner, such as a car similar to his, an image of him at the Arade Dam Reservoir, and a signed insurance form that proved he was at the festival in Spain where he allegedly confessed to the killing. 8,000 images of CSAM were also found in the lair. In September 2025, Christian Bruckner was released after serving his 7-year rape sentence. He was fitted with an electronic ankle tag and placed under legal supervision on release. In November 2025, ITV News tracked down Christian Bruckner, who was living in a tent in northern Germany after angry locals protested, so he was moved out of government accommodation. The reporters asked him if he killed Madeleine McCann. 3-year-old Madeleine Beth McCann, who disappeared just before her 4th birthday, would be 22 years old now. She is still missing, and many believe she is no longer alive. Hopefully, new information is acquired in her case that will help turn the wheels of justice, and her case can be solved.